Bersama Ab, Wolde, Womanfest Kudus, Ahadu Allah. Amen.
Amen.
Good evening, clergymen, brothers and sisters, young people in Christ the Lord. With the love of his mother, Kristos Mariam, the Holy Virgin Mary, be with us this evening. My name is Welde Amanu'el, member of St. Mary of Tserha Tsion Church and host of this up-and-coming talk show, Life's Journey. For those of you who have not watched the previous shows, it is available for you to watch. And so you will get to know the background about me and my guests. As a reminder, my guests, previous guests were Amde Mariam, Deacon Wolde Maskel, and Berhan Maskel. The feedback coming from you guys to the production team is very encouraging, and I thank you and thanks be to God. Now, just a reminder, if you're a first-time listener to Life's Journey, the show starts at 7 p.m. and runs for 60 minutes, scheduled for Friday evening fortnightly on YouTube and the Facebook platform. And of course, don't forget to click on the like button and subscribe. So, good evening and welcome back to Life's Journey, the talk show that reveals the personal journey of my guests, starting from their childhood memories up to the present time. But for this evening's show, we have made slight changes to the program. Therefore, tonight's show will be about our church, St. Mary of Zion's journey, going back some 43 years, when the first priest was sent to serve at the request of the Afro-Caribbean community through the eyes and experience of my guest this evening. History is important because it allows us to understand our past, which in turn allows us to understand the present. So tonight, for those of you who are not aware of St. Mary of Zion's history, tonight will be a revelation. So relax, make yourself comfortable, and as they say, listen up. My guest was around during the early years, 1977, during the setting up period of the first Ethiopian Orthodox wider church in the United Kingdom. And during her time, she was able to share and mix with the Afro-Caribbean culture and community. She has witnessed the rise and fall of the church during its good and bad times. She worked with our community to raise over £10,000 in hope of securing a place of worship. A familiar story. Some years later, in 1980, she left London to return back to Ethiopia. But then 12 years later, in 1992, she returned back to London. And so it is an honor and a privilege to welcome Trsite Selassie, also known as Berhan Amaridori, as named by her parents. Welcome to Life's Journey, Berhan Selassie.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and to share really my reflection of our church. And I take it really as a privilege, as well as humbling experience to be part of the community, to be accepted and welcomed as part of the community, and really tell the story, because our church has got a very rich history, and it would really be nice now, especially for the younger generation, to know what has happened, how it started, and where we are now. So I hope that everybody will really enjoy our talk.
Thank you very much, Berhan Selassie. I'm sure we're all looking forward to this history lesson. So, Trsite Selassie, take my listeners back to the early days of St. Mary of Zion, around the time when you met the priest in charge, the late Abba Aragawi, at Hyde Park Speaker's Corner, who later became the Abuna Johannes.
Yeah. So when we came, me and my friend Matasawi Mulgeta, who is in States now, came in summer around July, and our college principle was that anyone who comes from abroad to United Kingdom, they had an orientation program, getting to know London. So what was happening was that we had a mentor, and our mentor every week plans to visit 2-3 interesting and important places and write a report. As you know, in Ethiopia, although once you are grade 8, you will learn in English, with our family, with our friends, and so on, we speak Amharic. So they were trying as well to support us to really be more familiar with writing in English rather than Amharic English. So that time, the task was given for us to go to Speaker's Corner, because Speaker's Corner, we were surprised, and our mentor explained, you go and experience it. It's something very different, she said, and make sure that you write a report. So we went, and we were shocked culturally, the Speaker's Corner, because there's a freedom of speech, and everybody talks about anybody, from the Queen to the Prime Minister, you name it. Right. So we were shocked, and we were having, my friend and I were really discussing about what we heard. And that time they were really talking about the Prime Minister, I think, was it Callaghan, the Labour Party? I think he might have passed away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we were shocked, because that is not really what was happening in Ethiopia. And then we just carried on walking. Instead of coming out of the Speaker's Corner and back to Swiss Cottage, where we used to live, we just carried on walking. And then we came out of the embassy, Ethiopian embassy.
Okay.
So there we saw the Abba. And we were really lost, because we didn't know where we were going. But we were so pleased. So both of us ran. We were young, and it was so easy to run. We ran. And we said, are you Ethiopian? And Abba was really shocked, because 2 young adults, and, confidently asking, are you Ethiopians? And he took out his cross and blessed us. And he started asking us. And we told him that, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks then, how long we have been here and what we are doing and so on. And he told us about the church. Right. I cannot tell you how excited we were, because nobody told us back home that there is really this church and so on. We have no clue about Ethiopian community in London as well. So we were so pleased, and Abba very kindly wrote us the address where he lives and how to get there, because, using the underground was really new. He told us which line to use. And everything else. Guess what? The following week, on Saturday, very early, bang on Abba's door. He just couldn't believe it. And that was the beginning of really our introduction to the church. And I'll never ever forget it, because I just really have to say something for myself and on behalf of my friend as well, that had we not met Abba then, and met our brothers and sisters in church, I know personally I wouldn't really have been where I am now. Because as a young adult, there were so many negative influences, politically as well as otherwise. And I'm so grateful and internally grateful for our church, because spiritually and morally, it really helped me to be grounded and do what I'm doing now. And I just really have to say thank you.
Was you able to find out what made Abba Aragawi be at that particular point in time?
In what way?
So you said you met him at Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
So what was he actually speaking, or was he just passing by?
No, he was waiting for a bus. So he missed
Okay.
3, 4, number 52 buses while
Okay.
we were really talking. Yeah, he was waiting for a bus. I think he showed us the Ethiopian embassy as well. And then when we looked up, there is Ethiopian flag. Oh, we said. And then he was just waiting for bus 52 to go home, to go to his flat.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is how we met.
Thank you very much. Very, I'm sure we all have a special moment when we meet a special person.
Yeah.
And that was indeed a very special, blessed day. We can say that was a blessed day for you.
It was.
And your friend.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, what about your experience when you entered the church for the first time? How was the service conducted? Was it in English, Amarinia, Ge'ez? What was the service like? And was there any programs during the weekdays? And where was this church?
Okay, thank you. So when we went to the church for the first time, it was in Dumby Road,
Okay.
around Ladbroke Grove. And when we went in, it was Afro-Caribbean people, some Rastafarians, but a very different experience, because although they were Rastafarians, they were really wrapped up, properly covered, and very serious about taking off shoes. You know, it's just like now. And that really made me, oh, this is really good. It's just like back home, made me feel really at home. And then it was Abba Regawi as a priest, Estasfa, and Gabriel, all have really passed away now, who was Earl then. They were the two deacons and Abba the priest. Right. And everything was really in English. Abba was trying to say it in Ge'ez, but then it's not like now, where the majority of the members really have started learning Ge'ez a bit and responding. So it was all in English, and they had a booklet. Yes, where we used to be really given so that we can follow what was happening. Yeah. And it was really a very calm and pleasant experience, but the atmosphere was as well really is very, very calm. I mean, everything really what I experienced in Ethiopia when I go to church has happened, except that was really in English. And one priest and two deacons, and that's it. Yeah. Would
you say that the church would be more than 50% filled with members, visitors, or would you say it's more? We're just trying to get an idea of what was the capacity like. What was the level of attendees?
I can assure you there were. Sorry to interrupt. I can assure you there were no Ethiopians. The majority were really the members, because remember that the founders are Rastafarians, so they were there, and very few guests, because everybody knew everyone. It was so friendly and warm and welcoming. The first time Abba introduced us, I just really felt, oh my God, this is really feeling at home, because it's just like meeting your family, because they were so fascinated to know more about Ethiopia. Of course, then they wanted to know about the king, Haile Selassie. And it was just, there was no barrier at all. It was just like from home to home.
Okay. Did you come across that? You did mention earlier in our discussion, as a pre-talk, that there were clergies, or let's say diacons, which were not present, but they would come possibly on festive days.
Yeah. Now, there were Deacon Abraham his picture is there when you will see it when you put the picture up there. Deacon Gabriel Georgis and Deacon Escafialo. So, and Abba Haile Jesus, the late Abne Gregorius, who passed away recently. So Abraham, Gabriel Georgis, and Abba Haile Jesus, who is the late Abne Gregorius, who passed away here recently, they were studying in Ireland. So what was happening was that they were coming for Christmas, for Easter, and summertime. And any festivals that really is happening, the church used to cover their transport cost, and they come, and that is when you see more of Ethiopians. And we had another priest who was really serving in Birmingham, Abba Jesus, the Rastafarians in Birmingham. And although he was really stationed there, sometimes when we have a big festival, he used to come and join us as well. Then we had more deacons and more priests as well. Yeah. So, but this is really for very special moments, as I said, Christmas, Easter, summertime, what's his name? Abraham, Gabriel Georgis, and Abba Haile Jesus spend really their summer here. And what they used to do was really is teaching about the church history and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just moving on. Now, back in those days, back in the 70s, racism was very counterproductive.
Yeah.
And it was a cause for concern within the Afro-Caribbean community. And they was able to use Marcus Garvey Pan-Africanism and the Rastafarian movement to bring some focus on their identity and unity.
Yeah.
And this may be the reason, the main reason for wanting to be connected to Ethiopia in Africa.
Yeah.
Can you reflect back? I know you touched on it earlier slightly, but the Rastafarian movement and the link with the Ethiopia, how did the transition during your time, the transition moving possibly away from some of the ideology of the Rastafarian movement? And was that a problem within the community?
Racism was really rife then, particularly when, you know, they see people with dreadlocks, they always really assume that anything negative rather than really, there are so many positive things. Even now, 21st century, we can really talk about people with dreadlocks or Rastafarians as well. Then once they welcomed us, what was happening really is they used to come and visit Abba, the Rastafarians, and we started really talking about Ethiopia, definitely about the king. And one thing that Abba was really doing as well really is trying to help them. Yes, he was a king. Yes, he really has contributed a lot to Ethiopia, but he's not God. And I know where the Rastafarians are coming from because of this really harsh racism then. Then also in Marcus Garvey text, he was really, I might really misquote him, but the gist of it was that look to the east part of Africa, a country that has never been really colonialized. And that will really be the Holy Land for all of us. And they just really couldn't really let it go and distinguish between God and the king, because the king is really everything for them. And we were as well, myself and my friend as well, were really, it was a very healthy discussion, healthy debate. It took a long, long time, but gradually, Abba, with his gentleness, understanding, of course, sometimes as the priest as well, he has to be firm, but gradually he was really helping the Rastafarians to understand, okay, it's good to have that philosophy because it's an identity, And but God is God, a person is a person. But it took us really a long time. And I remember one of our brothers, he passed away, who was adamant that whatever you say, Berhan, or Abba, he used to say, Haile Selassie is Christ and God for me. And he never changed his mind until he passed away. And I respect that as well, because it is really search for identity. And I know that having the church has really helped the Rastafarians, as well as generally people who are really coming to our church, to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, help them really to feel, yeah, I'm Black, I'm Rastafarian, yeah, I live in England, so what? But I am really me and a very proud Black person. So I think the church has helped to cope with that really harsh racism, because for me as an Ethiopian, I couldn't really understand it then. I do understand it.
Of course.
Yeah, I do understand this now because I'm immersed in it, and I continuously see it in my profession. So I can understand this now, why people really feel that very strongly then. Then I just could not understand, because there wasn't any then in Ethiopia. Unlike now, I don't want to go to politics.
Yeah. So just sticking on the Rastafarian and the locks and everything. Now, those Rastas then, was there during your time whilst you was in the UK, did you find that they created a division? Was there a division that was noticeable, or was there a division that could be worked on and that there was no sort of disharmony? Because I've heard, and not very clear about, but there was a time when the Rastas wanted to have more of their ideology into the church service, and it kind of conflicted with the teachings of the church. Can you put us right on that? Is there anything you can shed on that? Whether there was a problem because of the staunch or the strong belief in the Rastafarian seeing Haile Selassie as God, or did it not affect the church?
I wouldn't really call it as a major problem. Yes, there were really some strong people who that was really very difficult to convince them to distinguish between a person and God. But from my really memory, I haven't really seen a major division. Those people who did not really agree the way Abba is going, because he has to teach the church, what the church dogma, and then people have really to be, of course, convinced about it and be baptized. And then sometimes some of them really were happy to cut their dreadlocks, and some people were still with their dreadlocks. I haven't really seen any division. Yes, there were those who were not really happy, left the church, and then they started really becoming the guests rather than really the permanent members. But people really have a choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Now, on to a more cheerful note. You was involved in fundraising. Can you tell us about the event itself, and what were the memorable moments, and was it a success?
Okay, so as you know, the church we had in Denby Road is really just like now. We go in, we set up, and then we park. We never really had our own place where we can really leave everything, and whenever we feel really we need to go to church and then just sit there and pray, we didn't really have that space. And I have to say that everybody who were really the members were really contributing a lot, whatever they earn every week. But that was not really enough. So we decided that we are going to do a big fundraising. We said, okay, let's go, let's do it. So the aim was to buy or to put a deposit to buy a church.
Right.
So that was really the most motivating factor for all of us. Remember, we are young. And so what shall we do? Ethiopian dinner and dance in a big hotel, but it will be Ethiopian meal. That was as well fine. So it was me and Matasavia who were supposed to cook, of course, and Rima, and then I think then Maureen. All of us are short, but we didn't really care. So we will cook. And I don't know, I haven't really been to Porchester Hall probably the last 15 or 16 years. I only went back again when we had a wedding invitation there. And it was really a grand place. So we were so excited and everything. So the most interesting thing for us was the cooking. Yeah. And as you know, when you cook dorowet,
Yes.
yeah, you need to have lots of onions. So that was not a problem.
Yeah.
But the pot was big.
Oh, yes.
Think about a hotel cooker.
Yes.
Us and the pot. So we had to stand, all of us, on a chair, really to cook. So that was really my best memory. In terms of its success, it was really, really successful. It was really a lovely evening, and everybody was really happy to come, buy the tickets, and we fundraised more than £10,000, which was really good. And then, that was really my highlight of really my youth life here as a young adult, the cooking and fundraising for the church and standing on the chair.
Yeah, okay. So you've given us all who are listening a sense of excitement and determination, which is something that is still within our community.
Yeah.
But £10,000 back in those days is probably something like maybe £60,000 now.
Yeah.
Possibly. So it was quite a phenomenal amount of money.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that with my listeners. Now, you returned back to Ethiopia in 1980. You left the community during this time.
Yeah.
And there was some setback with the church's development whilst you was away. And I believe it even led to a point where the church was actually shut.
Yeah.
And possibly the police becoming involved at some stage. Were you able to maintain communication when you was in Ethiopia? Was you aware of this happening?
Yeah. Just before I answer your question, so with that £10,000,
yes,
we built a church in Acton town, and I think the second week was our last week. It was inaugurated the first week. We were there. It was really a beautiful church, beautiful big church. Right. And the second week was our last day where we had to say goodbye to our brothers and sisters at church. And it is after that where all the problems started. Of course, I was really getting in touch with Anne, Rima, Kes Haptes, Kes Tesfa family, and Rima, and they were really, I didn't know about the challenge they have encountered. And it really has saddened me because, a church is God's house. It's nobody's house. And we can always have argument outside. And this is how I see God's house should really be respected. So I was really saddened when it was shut. And brothers and sisters had no church. And yet in Ethiopia, we have so many churches. I always really felt sad because one church, just one church.
Just one. Yeah.
And it ended up really that way. And when I heard that brothers and sisters are just praying in people's house, and no more really coming together, because you know, if people's house can only be, you can only spend in those people's house for prayer. You
That's
can't
right.
really spend like what you do at church. So that was really, really sad. And I think it's as a result of this, because the challenge could not really be resolved, where the three deacons were invited to study priesthood in Ethiopia.
Okay, Brownie, thank you for that bit of information.
That's all right.
Now, as a result of our priest ordination, you came into contact with the late His Grace Abuna Gregorius.
Yeah.
And you have supported him.
Yeah.
What do you remember most about those times? What was involved?
So I met the priests before in Addis, and then they took me to Beta Kenneth and introduced me to late Abuna Gregorius. And then on January Trsite, Astero Mariam, yeah, the big feast. That is when they were blessed by Abuna Amanu'el, the patriarch, the three cases. And once all those official ceremony was finished, there was a big lunch. And that is when I sat next to, of course, the three priests and Abuna Gregorius. And that is where I met him. And he started telling me about the monastery in Zuwai, which I love traveling and visiting monasteries. So I thought, that is fantastic. And I didn't know there was a monastery there. And that is how we started really working together. And late Abuna Gregorius was really a very compassionate but unassuming person, very knowledgeable, be it politically, church history, Ethiopian history, you name it, yeah, the world history. I have learned so much from him. So on my first visit to the monastery, you know, I used to wear lipstick, and one of the priests in the monastery said that she's just like a nun. I don't know why she really wears a lipstick, because, you know, when my grandmother was very serious about church, so she taught me all the things I need to know about church when you go to church and so on. So they were really surprised. And then every Saturday, what Abuna Gregorius used to have is, there are children in that area, poor children, who some of them really don't really have parents, and some of them are really very poor. So Saturday really is a day where anyone who travels from Addis, because he has got lots of network from Addis, and he has got a guest house, but a guest house, basic, which I loved, yeah, a bed and a shower, bathroom. That is it. If you like a really comfortable place, just go and don't come to the monastery. It was such a very beautiful place. So every time I go, what we used to do on Saturday really is help the children to just learn self-hygiene, you know, the washing themselves, their hands, the face, and, you know, cutting their hair. So we used to cut their hair. And Abba Tachin used to teach them as well Bible history, just like what we do here with the children, yeah. And when he comes to Addis, he always let me know, I am coming tomorrow. He never stayed over in Addis. He doesn't like it. When I asked him, he said, look, my daughter, a monk shouldn't really be living in town, in a city, because it's a very tempting place. My place is that monastery, and I don't know if you have been there to Zuwai. It's a monastery where there are lots of different plants and forest as well, trees. And it really is a very special place. And he said, no, 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 I do not really want to stay there. So he calls me, he's coming, and he gives me a list what he needs, not for himself, for the church or for the children. Yeah. And then he sends his driver to where I work. And then I go with the driver and purchase everything. And then sometimes it's only telephone. I don't even see him when he's in Addis, because by the time I finish, he started his journey back to Zuwai as well. So until he passed away, we were really working together. And it's a shame that we lost someone very special from our church. And I was watching the video clip, and I thought, you know what?
Yes.
It's a big loss, and I don't miss it. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
that is really new information, and the reason why it's new is because the life of an archbishop as a laity, unless we're involved in some way in their service, we would never get to know this.
No.
And what you have done there, you've revealed that the special mark of someone who is of that caliber. And, and I'm really grateful. I'm sure my listeners will be grateful for hearing a part of the life of an archbishop.
Can I just say something here?
Right.
Please.
Go ahead.
I might really disturb your sequence. I just really want
Go
to say
ahead,
okay. So while I was really in Ethiopia as well, the brothers who used really to go and visit Ethiopia, Beta Kehanet, I think every October they used to go for the annual
Sabakagubaye.
Yeah, and also I think Nathan, you might really be one of them as well. The Deacon Academy were allowed to go to Zuwai to visit or to study something. And my family, my mom, my sister, and my late brothers were really always there to help them, support them. And my mom was really that is really their second home, because my mom was really looking after them as well if they were in Addis. I just want to mention this. Sorry.
Yes, that's very important information.
Yeah. Because they were part of our family. It's not only me. My family was part of the church family.
Yes, indeed. So we were just talking about your return back in 1992, some 12 years later.
Yeah.
What changes have you noticed within our clergy, or what are your views about when you revisited this community again for the second time?
So it was lovely. It's like coming back home again, because I didn't really feel any strange, because yes, we are all getting older, of course, but the children, especially the children, when they were babies and so on, I left them, have become really grown-ups, very serious about life. Some of them really were serving as deacons, really, part of the clergy. And that was really nice. And I have seen as well Ethiopians as well joining in the church, because back then, very, very, very few, towards really 1980, Ethiopians have started really coming to the church. Prior to that, I think it's me, my friend, and the deacons and the priests. Yeah. So that was really good. And the other thing, I think that really, really, really impressed me, and I'm just so proud as well, is that the ceremony, the church ceremony, is just like what it used to be at the monastery at St. Gabriel, where the late Abuna Gregorius monastery. And that hasn't really lost, and that was really fantastic. And I'm sure if he looks us down, he'll be very, very, very proud of our church, because we are not really we don't really have any shortcuts. from A to Z, it is, as I have experienced it in the monastery. And that was really fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of the guests, well, all the guests that have been on the show so far, one of the things that they really stress is the influence and the appearance of entering into the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. There's some of them even say they were blown away. So there is something unique that is within the church, and once they've discovered that, that is something that has been transplanted from Ethiopia to London. Yeah, thank you for that one. So I think now I can thank you. You've given us a dynamic history lesson from your personal experience. You can give, if you was to give advice to those who have recently joined or been in the church a little while, because they are going to be the makers of our continued history to come. What would you tell them?
I think what I would like to tell them really is, first and foremost, I think we need to have our own church, which we are in the process of it, and we are fundraising, and a lot of things has been done, but it's not yet finished. And it's very important that it's not only about the building. We need really to keep up, to make sure that it's not only one church. It is possible. We can have 2-3 churches, branches, not only in London, outside London. But I think one thing what I would like to say to everyone really is that we need to give to the church. But when we give to the church, whether you give £10, £100, or £1 million, I wish we had, then it's done, it's dusted, it's church's money. If I really want to leave the church, I leave the church. We shouldn't really think about, well, I have contributed this much money, therefore. Because I think my sincere apologies if I really misquote the Bible, but somewhere it says that what your right hand gives, your left hand mustn't not know. It's done and dusted, that's it. I had, like, for example, Berhan or Nathan contributed this much amount of money. It's a new culture. Maybe it might motivate people, but that is really, I think, somehow I feel very uncomfortable. I think for the young generation, those of us who were really right at the beginning, who joined in the middle, who will be joining as well in the future, we need really to build this church for the coming generation, because I think as a Black community, we need a church that will really build our confidence. It's something that really is from Africa, East Africa, and we do. It's a shame, whatever is happening now, but it's a country as well, historically, a nation that really has won a lot of war without really any sophisticated war missiles. So I think for young adults, for young Black adults, I think we need to keep the church very strong, where they can really develop their identity, feel proud of their Blackness, our Blackness, feel proud of as well wherever we come from about our history, and feel proud of as well that whatever racism goes on around us, if we are really believing in God, of course, first and foremost, and coming as a united Black nation within our church, we can really make a difference. I think the young adults really do need this kind of place where they feel at home. Therefore, you and I have really responsibility to make sure that we do what we do, be a role model to them, and make sure that we build the church and we let it go. We don't own the church. Church is God's house.
Mm-hmm. Thank you again for some words of correct thought processes when, as a member, we come in with, as we are, we follow the teachings. If we don't like, then we go. you know, regardless of whatever you do within or without the church. Yeah, thank you. Now we're at the point of the show, Trsite Selassie, where we ask you to just share some memories with some photographs.
Mm-hmm.
So can we start with photograph number 1? Okay, that is where you are being blessed by the late Abba Aragawi, also known as Abuna Johannes. What does that picture bring back for you?
So this is one of our Sunday after church, and we were by Gabra Mariam, the late Gabra Mariam, and Rima's house. And
Right.
that was the day where I took under my wing Rima as my, I don't know the English word, my tutelage. It's like,
Godmother.
yeah. And
Godmother.
yeah, so that was really what was happening. And we were, so the one who is standing by the door was Deacon Berhan, and then Rima and myself, and of course other members like Trsite and Amde and Anne, Maureen are there at the background. And that was really the day where I took her as my daughter.
What year would you say that would be approximately?
I can't now. You are asking a difficult question, but it will be 79.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and now for picture number 2, this is where we are seeing the foundation members.
Yeah. I think it is important that we really need to just put the church into historical context, because it is very important, especially for the young generation. I think these are really the founders of the church, and you can see their name at the bottom of their picture. And what happened was that these founders, especially the sisters, have written a letter to the Emperor Haile Selassie, requesting if they could really have a priest, because they wanted really to start Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And they have written a lot of things, why, the rationale as well. And the king was really taken back. And I think prior to that as well, the king went to Jamaica, and it was a drought there in Jamaica. And the moment Ethiopian Airlines landed, the king came out of the plane, it poured. So somehow there is a link, that I think the holiness and everything. And the king really instructed the late Abuna Theophilos, the patriarch, then to ask Abba Aragawi to, when he finished his study, to fly directly to London and really to start the church. And those founders were really the one who helped the church to start the church. Of course, some of them you can see, some of the members, I can see Gabra Mariam there, I can see Trsite there, yeah? And so those are really the founders, and this is how small it was. Now, of course, it's big. And I think it's very important that we need really to thank these members, regardless what their belief was then. But I think without these people, we wouldn't really, you and I wouldn't really have this conversation, or we wouldn't really have the church. And it is in 1974 that the church has really started. And it's the first Ethiopian Orthodox church in London that was really established for Afro-Caribbean community. Especially, Abba was specially came to serve the Afro-Caribbean community. Yes, God's house is for everyone, regardless where we go. If there is a church, everybody welcome us. But I think historically, it's the first church for Afro-Caribbean community. And I think it's important. We need to thank those founders. Some of them have passed away as well. So it's their legacy. Yeah.
Well, they say that a picture says 1,000 words,
It does.
and I'm sure that there is so much detail that can be taken from that photograph.
Yeah.
It is a time when there was unrest. There was a time when there was racism.
Yeah.
It was a time when there was lack of equality.
Yeah.
But yet, through all of that, they were focused in order for that self-awareness and self-importance and unity of Black people. This was the answer, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So thank you for that picture,
That's all right.
Selassie. And moving on to the third picture, again, can you explain the reasons behind this picture?
Which one is that?
This is the one where you've got the young Deacon bending over serving some children.
Oh, yes, you know that. Well, our church was ambitious and still ambitious, and I would like it as well to be in the future very ambitious. Even then, with everything, with all the challenges we had, we wanted to have a church preschool, a church nursery. So what we decided to do was that we start with Saturday school, and this should really be a kind of nursery. And my background is Montessori pedagogy. So we said to Steve, Deacon Steve, who was serving the children with their meal, and on the photo, he said he's happy to become really a practitioner, to work with the children. So we fundraised, myself and my friend, asked our friends to support us. We purchased all Montessori equipments. They are very expensive ones because they are made in Holland, and they are made, most of them are really made out of wood. And it was one of our Saturdays where they played with the materials, they did their activities, and they were just really having snack. And had we continued developing it by now, we would not only have that nursery, probably chained Ethiopian Orthodox nursery or kindergarten, whatever we want to call it, and probably schools as well. And I'm sure once we have our church, this dream will be materialized as well. I'm hopeful we can do it.
Okay. Again, thank you for sharing those pictures. And for those of you who are not familiar or not aware of the visit of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I visit to Jamaica, it is available on YouTube. So if you really want to get an up-to-date on that, please do visit the website. Now, Trsite Selassie, I would like to thank you for sharing your life journey within the historical context and the photographs with our listeners. You know, our viewers will include national and international viewers.
That is
scary. It's on the platform of the Facebook and YouTube. I would also like to wish your family the best, and that you have many more years of service to give to Saint Mary of Tsion.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think I did really travel down to the memory lane, because those times will never come back, I know, because we are older and we have established our own life and so on. But I think just to say as well, thank you to everyone then who really supported me to be grounded with really reality and finish my study and do what I do now. And also, I think I would like to say as well to the all the cases partners and wives, because the cases wouldn't really be stronger, and deacons and so on, without really their partners or their wives, because I know that they have made a huge sacrifice then, and they are still making a huge sacrifice now, because it's challenging being a priest wife or a deacon wife. or partner.
Right. Thank you very much. So, well, we're at the end of another show, and it's been a history lesson, well told by our sister Trsite Selassie. And I hope you, my listeners, can find a sense of attachment and be motivated to keep our history.
Yeah.
And you can speak more confidently. I thank God for allowing to continue this opportunity, and that our members can feel part of the sharing of this life's journey. Next week and the following weeks, I hope to have other guests for you lined up. So please make Friday 7 p.m. Fortnightly as a regular time slot. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe. This is Welde Amanu'el saying good night and sleep well. May God be praised. So until we meet again, وصبحت لعب إيجابية ولديتو دينجل وبمسكال كبرى. Amen.
Amen.